Hey there, this is Katherine Cartwright. Welcome in. I'm going to make 5 projects using a stamp set from Stamps of Life. This is a new set that I thought was really cute. It's Jingle Bells. It has a little trio of Jingle Bells and then a little single Jingle Bell. So I'm going to make some stuff with that today. This is a circle flip it card base. This is a quick way to make a card. And I'm using some green. The patterned paper is from Paper Tray Ink. It's an older pattern paper I've had forever. So on all of these Jingle Bells, except the ones that I die cut, there's some dies that coordinate with it. I just colored them with my sparkle pens. I'll link them below the colors that I used. I used a gold, I think I used a red, a green, a blue, and a silver. I don't know if I used the silver in the video, but I did color a bunch of them. So I'm just kind of laying out where I want things to go. The sparkle is really pretty in person. You could absolutely use your Copic markers or whatever markers you wanted to color. I just felt like making some sparkly Jingle Bells. So I've stamped and die cut a bunch of pieces. I'm not going to do too much die cutting on camera today, because I just went ahead and got some stuff ready. That way I could make a bunch of things. When I stamp and die cut and get a bunch of things prepared, I can make more things on camera, so to speak. So I did a lot of this off camera, but I will show you some things. I'm using some foam dimensionals here to pop up this Jingle Bell. I have put a couple of those little pieces of foliage, I guess you would call it, and I'm putting them behind. I glued them down behind the Jingle Bell. I've got a rectangle here that I cut from another card base that I used, and so I'm just recycling that. I'm going to take this over to my little paper trimmer and trim that down a little bit. The stamps and the Jingle Bells were in the same set, so I don't think I used too many different other sets. I did use some different die sets in this video. And again, I'll link everything in the description. So I'm just going to ink up the sentiment. I need to re-ink all of my inks. I realized I haven't done that in quite some time, so they've gotten pretty dry. So I'm just going to, thankfully with my stamp positioner, I can just do it twice and I get a great image. I can't live now without my stamp positioner. I never used to use it, and then I finally started using it for some reason. Cannot remember why. Maybe because I was tired of making stamping mistakes, and I just said, let me give this thing a try. And I haven't looked back since, so I'm always using that. I've got a couple of die cuts here. These are the same little foliage things. So I purchased the Jingle Bell stamp set and then the coordinating dies. And again, I'll link those in the description. But I'm going to take a couple of these little leaves here, and I'm just going to kind of go around it sort of in a circle to kind of go with the roundness of this card with that circle in the middle. So I'm just going to add a little bit of glue, liquid glue to the back, and then I'll add another one on the other side. So just something to add a little bit of interest. I knew I wanted to do something with the leaves, but I just wasn't sure what. And I actually really kind of like how that turned out. All right, so I have also cut from white cardstock another one of those scallop circles. And then I'm stamping wishing you peace and love. And by using the stamp positioner, it makes it very easy to stamp a color, wipe it off, change your stamp, and do another one. So I was able to just stamp these one at a time and get them exactly where I wanted them to go. And that is it on that first card. Super cute. Okay, I think this is called the Swish die set. I think most of these products are from Stamps of Life that I dug out of my stash. And I'm going a little bit with a non-traditional color here. These are some, poinsettia flowers. I'm going to ink blend the edges. This is ocean cardstock, so a little bit of a darker blue, but I want to add a little bit more depth to the leaves. So I am just taking my finger dauber here. I've got one for each color, and I like to apply my ink this way. I'm not spending too much time on it. I just want to kind of darken the edges. This is a really easy way to add some detail to your cardstock. Sometimes, especially if I have a lighter cardstock, I find that it kind of gets lost if it doesn't have a big, bold, rich color in it. And so I just want to darken this up. I'm going to do this with the green as well. This is Mint Chip. And I'm going to go and add around a little bit on the edges of my stems. This is also included in the Swish set. It has like a background die, and then it has the poinsettias and this little foliage, and maybe something else, maybe some snowflakes or something. I can't remember. I haven't used that set in a while, but I thought I liked the shape of it, so that would work for what I wanted to do. So now I'm going to glue these 3 pieces together, and I'm going to offset them, and they're just going to be one-dimensional here. And then I will add that top layer. I'm just gluing down the center. I don't need to glue the whole piece down, and it kind of gives it a little added depth to it. And then I'm going to peel those off. I use that mat, so if I had a bunch of glue on there, it hopefully wouldn't stick to my mat. My black mat is so dirty, and I've cleaned it multiple times. It looks kind of gross. So I've been trying to do better about putting sticky stuff onto a mat so I don't make it worse. This paper is just some pattern paper I cut with that Swish die. And then I'm going to add my flower on top. And I'm just trying to figure out where I want to put my stems here. And I've got 2 of each. I've got 2 of the larger and 2 of the smaller. And you could add as much or as little as you wanted to. But I definitely want to add at least 2 to kind of balance out my image. So I'm just kind of getting it where I want it. And then I am going to just glue those to the back of my flower. And then so I've got those kind of positioned where I want them to. I'm going to use that ink pad to hold down my cardstock. So I'm just placing a little bit of glue here because I want to put my petals on top of these stems here. So I'm going to move these around just a little bit, but I've got the glue on there. And then once I get it all stuck on there, I can peel it off and add it to my card. So I've got them where I want them, and now I'm just going to apply some adhesive directly to there. I'm not popping this up with foam. You could if you wanted to for additional height, but since this will go through the mail, I don't want it to get super, super thick, so I'm leaving that as is. I've got a silver jingle bell. I cut this from the dies only, so you can cut out just the jingle bell. It's a kind of a mirror cardstock. I've had this cardstock forever. It's pretty sure it's die cuts with a view. They had a pack of 6x6 mirror cardstock that I have had a really long time. It has such beautiful colors. It has a deep blue and a green and a gold and a silver. And so it's my go-to for things like this. I'm taking a piece of twine here and I'm just tying a little bow at the top of my jingle bell. So cute. Trimming up those tails, and then I will add a foam dimensional to the back of this. And you could cut apart your jingle bell and you could add a different color if you wanted to in the center, but I just kept this all one color, a silver jingle bell. And that will be added to the center of this flower. I'll definitely stamp a sentiment inside. I just didn't show that on camera. But I love the way that turned out with kind of some non-traditional colors. Okay, I have a die here. This is from scrapbook.com. It's a Mary. They have a bunch of borders, and I'm just cutting down 2 of these to 4x4 because I think I'm going to use both, but then I change my mind and I don't end up using it. So I've got a piece of cardstock that I have embossed with an older folder. It's got musical notes on it. I know it's a little hard to see on camera. I've got another trio of bells that I have colored with silver, and then there's this little round piece included in the die set that I'm going to use as my where you would maybe tie your bow, your ribbon together to put a set of jingle bells together. And so I'm going to glue that down and let that dry. Just cut that from green cardstock. And then I'm also going to add some greenery at the top. So these dies are from Pine Cones to Stamp, I think is the set. I've had these a while, and I love the, they're like a bigger version sort of these leaves, foliage. I'm just calling them foliage. I guess it's like a tree branch would be the technical term. And then I also have these pink fresh dies that cut thinner lines, straight lines. And so I like to use those for different things. So I'm going to use that for this card as well. I've got a couple of the little smaller pine cones that are also in that pine cone set. And I'm going to begin by gluing down my Mary, my gold strip at the bottom. And I don't think I finished what I was saying. These are from scrapbook.com. There's some slimline border dies for holiday. And so I'll try and find those and link those in the description as well. I just can't remember the exact name. And so now I'm going to take a little bit of time here fussing, trying to get my foliage exactly where I want it to go. And I'm going to move some stuff around. I've got the two colors, a lighter green and a darker green. And I'm just trying to figure out how I'm going to lay this together. It's not going to be the most symmetrical, but I'm okay with that because if I was making something like this in real life, it's not going to be perfect. At least at my house, it's not going to be perfect. And that's okay. So you can see I spent some time and got that straightened out the way I wanted it to. I have trimmed down a little piece of that strip die that I showed you earlier, and I have popped up my jingle bells, and now I am just working on placing it and making sure it's where I want it to go. So it looks sort of like a little branches in the air, and there's some jingle bells hanging down. And I'm going to finish that off with adding some foam to the back of these two little pine cones that are so sweet. And you could probably add some, I probably would have added some sparkle to my pine cones just to kind of jazz them up a little bit, but I forgot. So there we go with having that little bit together. All right, and I'm going to add this to a piece of white cardstock. This, all my cards that I made are A2 sized, so 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. So this one I cut at 4, and then I've gone up 1/8 of an inch on each of these, and the finished card is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. All right, so I've got that on white because I really wanted to pop that off the page. And then I added this to a green card base. And I think this one is the one that you really can't see all the details on camera, but it ended up being pretty. I liked the way that that one turned out. All right, moving on. I've got another one. I don't remember what base set this is. I'll have to dig around and find the name of this one, but it has an A2 sized, or a little smaller than A2, but it has a base, and then you can put the little square in there. It's not square, excuse me, the rectangles in there. So it has 2 rectangles and then a larger rectangle. So you can kind of create these windows based on how you want them to go. And so I have just created that and out of white, and then I've glued it onto a card the same size in white. So you can see a little bit of the line. And then, so this is really going to be a really clean card. I've got another stamp, Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas. I'm using some green ink here. This ink pad needs to be inked up as well. And then I am going to add some of my jingle bells. I pulled out my little tiny dies, my 3-dimensional dies. I'm going to use the same strip since I had this cut. I just need to cut this to size of my string, so to speak. You could use string, but I thought this would be a good workaround for just having it be a little bit flatter for mailing. Once I've gotten that as long as I want it to, I'm going to glue this down, and then I'll add my blue jingle bells on top. And these are, again, colored with these sparkle pens. I cannot remember the name of them right this second. but I'll find it and link it in there. But they've got this beautiful sparkle to them. And they're just fun to color with. It's just something different than what I normally use. And so sometimes I just get kind of a wild hair and pull them out. I'm going to add some foam here, popping this up. And then I will add this to my jingle bell. My jingle bell to my string, I should say. And I'm just trying to get it positioned where I want it to go, because I'm going to add that bow on top, and I'm going to use a little bit of foam at the top of this to stick it above the jingle bell. And then I'll peel that off, and that will be ready to go. So cute. And I'm going to repeat the same process with this green jingle bell. And I've got the same little stem, so I'm just going to add that one on there. This one definitely doesn't need to be as long because the rectangle is much smaller. And then I will add that down, and I will repeat the same process, adding a piece of foam to my jingle bell, and then that cute little green bow. This is like the mini or tiny bow. It's so cute. Add that on there, and then again, repeating the same process. I'm just going to glue this one directly on, since there's a little bit less area to stick it to as opposed to the where the trio was. Got that right there. And that is going to be it. I'm going to add this to a red card base. So a nice, clean, and simple. You could add some stamps to it. There are some little tiny stamps. There's one little strip of hearts in this stamp set, but I didn't want to make a mistake and have to start over, so I just let it go. All right, I had a little bit of fun just stamping. I had a tag on my desk that I wanted to use, so I did a really easy stamp of these jingle bells, and then I colored them both the same. Now I'm going to add a sentiment again. Have yourself a Merry Little Christmas. And I'm using that green apple ink as well. So these look cute if you like to make tags. I love to make tags and treat bags. That's one of my favorite things to do. My children have gotten much older, so I don't have to make quite as many things like that anymore as I used to when they were small. But I did think about turning this into a gift holder instead of just a tag. These Tim Holtz tags are so nice and large, and I decided to add a holder for a gift card on the back, and I'll show you that in just a second. So I had this pretty green paper in my stash. I cut it out using this die. I cannot remember the name of it. I will link it in there. A gift card holder probably is what it's called. Maybe I'll find it and link it. And so this is a lightweight paper, but it will hold a gift card. And so I have just glued that together, and then I'm going to add that to the back of my tag. Like I said, these tags are nice and large and they're really sturdy. And so I just decided to glue this onto the back. And I have created a gift that way. I could tie this onto the Christmas tree and stamp a little to from maybe above the Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas. And then I also had an extra jingle bell set that I die cut out of kind of a matte gold paper. And I thought it just would tie together with the front. And I left some room if I wanted to write or stamp something on there. Okay, so that's it. Had a lot of fun with that. Making this tag here. I've got this clean and simple kind of grid die and stamp set that I used on that card. Got the Swish card with the jingle bell in the center of the poinsettias. And then this trio of bells hanging from some foliage. And then, of course, a fun flip it. So I hope you enjoyed this. Be sure to leave me a comment and let me know which one you like best. And I hope you have a great day. Be sure to subscribe and be sure and share with your friends. Have a great day.